Cadia stands, will you? For the glory of the Imperium, for the survival of mankind, for Cadia. The enemies of the Emperor mass at the gates, heretics fester, Xenos swarm, and the traitorous legions stir once more in the Eye of Terror. But Cadia does not know defeat. Cadia does not kneel. From the ashes of a shattered world, the sons and daughters of Cadia rise. Trained from birth, forged in war, the Cadian Guard stands unflinching against horrors beyond imagination. Join today and you will receive training in the most revered military tradition in the Segmentum Obscurus. Access to the finest lasguns, armor, and tactical doctrine. Purpose beyond the hive, beyond yourself. For there is honor in battle, and redemption in sacrifice. Even in ruin we stand. We fight for Cadia. Enlist now at your local Minitorum outpost, for glory is eternal. That is one way of how they drive humanity to enlist in the Cadian Guard. The Astra Militarum is probably the biggest army in the galaxy, numbering in the probably more than billions and trillions. There is just so many people within the Astra Militarum that humanity wins their wars not with weapons or tactics or soldiers, but just bodies. Literally throw bodies upon bodies at the enemy until they cannot win against these sheer numbers. And we see that they're trying to embellish just how amazing Cadia and the Guard is, but as we all know, that is not what it's like to be inside the army. So here we have an excerpt from the Fall of Cadia, where we have a true hero of Cadia, none other than Jaren Kell. So without further ado, let's dive into what it's actually like to enlist and be a part of the Cadian Guard. Clouds gathered above their heads, collecting on the inner dome of the sky shield, red flared and spiraling like the wound left by the hooked mandibles of a parasitic worm. Is that what I think it is? Lightning shattered the world like mirror glass, splitting the air, earth, and flesh into shards. Troopers that Kell had campaigned with for 20 years fell apart like paper dolls cut to confetti. It's done, Ursakar. Kell keyed his comm bead. Striker 2, dust, dust. What does that mean? The Valkyrie on the pad behind them cycled its turbofans from still to full, keening like a lost soul. Daggers of flame stabbed from the thrust nozzles, bringing it to 3 feet of hover. It had just dropped its ramp when the behemoths emerged from the lightning, weapons firing. A Cadian trooper came apart, his top half detonated by a storm bolter round. His squad made thrust at the attacker with bayonet, only to have their cross-sections and the last gun clatter to the duckboard floor as a lightning claw slashed through them. She barely had time to blink before she too fell to pieces. A rush of flames tore down the trench, immolating half a squad. Autocannon rounds blasted through the bank of Vox stations and scatterbeam plotters, blowing out their logic boards so they burned with an acrid stink, throwing the operators from their station. The comms chief pulled a Hell pistol, an ornate family heirloom, and got off a single shot before a storm bolter round burst her skull and most of one shoulder. Her wire coil microbead suddenly fell and bounced on its webbing mount, an ear still attached. The golden balls of lightning streaked towards Kell, flashing bright white on Creed's refractor field, bursting into firefly embers. A diagonal line that seemed to go everywhere apart from where Kell stood, except he couldn't stand anymore. One knee gave out, strengthless. The echoing reports of the bolt shell only registered in his ear after he started to fall. "Kell!" Creed yelled. He was at Kell's shoulder, dragging him up. And that's when the pain arrived. Scathing agony from knee to groin, both excruciating and numbing at the same time. He saw a glow of white bone in the ruin of red that was once his joint. The kneecap had been blown off entirely, and his entire trouser leg, all the way up to his growing armor, was peppered with shrapnel. Red stains were welling in the fabric like ink spilled on tablecloth. He could see it spreading from the weave of the fabric as they grew from speckles to splotches. Out of the pyre smoke of their burned trooper came an image he knew from propaganda pics and intelligence reports. A silhouette impossible to miss. A claw hooked like that of the Aquila hanging around Kel's neck. A sword tall as 2 men. Trophy racks and a top knot. "Rah!" Kel howled, shoving Creed off. "Go, Usakar. Get the freck out of here." "No!" I said go. The Khazarkin from the Valkyrie grabbed Creed and dragged him backwards, shielding him with their bodies, hellguns raised and drilling slashes of fire towards the oncoming enemy. Abaddon, the monster of the eye, who had haunted Kel's nightmares since childhood, came on like a charging cargo hauler. He raised his great claw and hammered a burst of fire into the retreating Khazarkin, butchering 2 of them. They closed ranks as they went up the ramp, the Valk already starting to rise. Kel planted the standard of the Cadian 8th and hauled himself up with it, taking 1 shuffling step to get between his commander and the oncoming nightmare. It occurred to him that he should have sent the standard on the Valkyrie. No chance now. "Kel, we'll get the Valkyrie to fire. I'll save you," Kel grunted into his microbead. He drew his power sword. "But you must save Cadia." Abaddon was more terrible than he had imagined, moving so fast, his smell like the penumbral forges of the warp, sulfur and spice, an aura like the sizzling stillness before a thunderhead broke into violence. Blood-splattered armor, big as a mountain, ghost flickers of awful things circling his head. Yet his face was so appalling because it was still so human. No horns, no spikes, just a sneering marble bust. "Jaren," Creed said in his comm bead, barely audible over the scream of the ascending vector thrust engines. It wasn't the voice of the Lord Castellan, but that of the directionless orphan he'd met so many years ago. "Thank you, my brother." Kel thrust out with his sword, the energy field seeming to gutter in the presence of the War Master of Chaos. He lost his balance, knee buckling, but the thrust plunged towards the unprotected face, his mouth open in a black maw of anger. Then his sword fell, dropping to the ground on the arm that held it. With a guillotine chop, the demon blade had severed it. In another instant, Kel was off of his feet. The despoiler held him in his massive claw, 2 finger sides arcing over each shoulder, and the thumb slicing into his lower ribs and pressing on his back to pin him inside a cage of pain. Slicing razors, crawling with corsportant lightning, pressed down through armor and flesh. He locked his power fist around the battle standard, but he refused to let it drop. "Cadia stands." "But you can't." "And I will kill him," the despoiler said, his voice deep and rich, laden with a passion Kel did not expect. "In the meantime, he will watch you die as he runs, and your death will be a dishonor." Kel could feel his ribs creaking under the pressure, blood already pooling in his mouth. It was hard to get a single breath in. "You're slaying me with the same gauntlet that killed an angel and touched the Emperor? How is that a dishonor?" The noble face turned down in fury. "I am no failure like Horus. If he's such a failure, why do you dress like him?" Bones popped and ground. Kel felt his vertebrae wrung apart. The nightmare did not crush him so much as it kneaded his body like clay before throwing him into the dirt. A cruel inverse of the old creation myths where a god molded humans from earth. Kel lay there, a man unmade and cast into the soil, his head lolling forward, awkward on his broken neck. He could see the blood spreading across his chest from where the 5 talons had cut him. It soaked into the fabric, scarlet, each line of blood growing fat and wide. The pattern bloomed on his chest as the wound faded to nothing but that vibrant, living color. Red. Red like the fireworks in the victory celebration. red like the flowers in his mother's garden, red like the scarlet chrysanthus, like the flower of Cadia. And with that being said, that is the end of today's excerpt. We truly see just how Jaren Kell, the hero of Cadia, gave his life, and so much more, to allow others to escape and live to fight another day. We see Abaddon the Despoiler coming out of the clouds of debris and just overall obliterate these humans, but not before taking a blow to his face, to his ego. I mean, in my opinion, Kell had the last laugh when he told him, if you despise Horus so much, if you see him as this failure, why are you basically trying to become a mini Horus? And that really hurt him. As you can see, that was what made him give the final blow and end the life of Jaren Kell. So even though this propaganda for the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, is basically showcasing you the good of being in the military, it's a process that needs to be done, because even though you don't really expect to have, your name engraved as like the heroes of the Imperium, each individual person is giving their life, giving this sacrifice to ensure the survival of humanity against the heretic, the Xenos, the mutant, and so much more. So every person is indeed a necessity to allow humanity to survive. And here we see that all these deaths, as minuscule or as important as they all matter in the eyes of the Imperium and the Emperor. So again, guys, let me know your thoughts down below. And as always, keep liking, commenting, subscribing, and sharing. And this has been the Sound Alchemist, part of One Mind Syndicate. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Always used to put my freedom first, and then